Robert Lawrence Welch, better known as Bob Welch, seemed destined for great success in the show business from almost the very beginning. Born in Hollywood, California on August 31st, 1945, to a prominent screenwriter father and singer and actress mother, Bob set his sights on music from an early age. First learning the clarinet before switching to rhythm guitar with a preference for blues, rock, and jazz, Bob set on his own in the 60s to make it as a star. After studying abroad in Paris, France, Welch joined a series of local bands and maintained a measure of stability until the early 70s, when his short-lived band The Seven Souls broke up. Luckily for Welch, though, better days were just around the corner. In 1971, Bob Welch traveled to England to audition for Fleetwood Mac, a former British blues band that had suffered from the loss of two of its lead guitarists, Peter Green and Jeremy Spencer. Drummer Mick Fleetwood, the de facto manager of the band, having never actually heard Welch's music, was persuaded to meet with him by Welch's school friend, and he was quickly drafted into the fold alongside keyboardist Christine McVie, bassist John McVie, and guitarist and lead singer Danny Kirwan. This particular lineup of the band recorded several albums together that proved vital to the transformation of Fleetwood Mac's past British blues sound into the melodic pop rock that they would perfect in the late 70s. The band's first album with this lineup, Future Games, released in 1971, featured many of the key elements, such as Christine McVie's signature love pop songs and Welch's laid-back and hypnotic guitar rockers. This would be the band's first album to crack the top 100 in the United States, peaking at number 91 and lasting 12 weeks on the charts, eventually being certified gold. Their next album, Bare Trees, released in 1972, was an even bigger success, particularly on US college rock radio. The album made its way all the way to number 70 and lasted almost 30 weeks on the charts, eventually earning itself a platinum certification in 1988. Sentimental Lady, rightly regarded as one of Bob Welch's signature songs, is one of the many songs on the album that have become popular within the fan base and on FM rock radio. The entire album is a collection of haunting, ethereal folk rock, and would prove vital to the further evolution of Fleetwood Mac's classic sound. Bob Welch assumed lead guitar and vocal duties when Danny Kirwan was abruptly kicked out of the band because of his increasingly violent antics on stage and unchecked alcoholism. The music produced during this time remained popular with the growing American audience, especially their 1973 album Mystery to Me, which featured another signature Bob Welch rocker, Hypnotized, which became a staple on FM rock radio. The album peaked at number 67 and was eventually certified gold. As Fleetwood Mac's popularity grew in the United States, things only grew wilder within the band. The revolving door of guitarists and vocalists made for an unsteady group dynamic, and Welch reportedly felt separated from the rest of the group, all of whom were dealing with their own personal issues and relationship dramas. Another signature that would remain a key element of the Fleetwood Mac mythology. Bob Welch kept the band alive through this particularly turbulent stage in Fleetwood Mac's history, including one of the most bizarre incidents in rock and roll music history. After guitarist Bob Weston was fired for having an affair with Mick Fleetwood's wife, Jenny, the band canceled their upcoming tour to recuperate from the drama. However, the band's manager at the time did not want to cancel a potentially lucrative tour, and put out a fake band pretending to be Fleetwood Mac on tour and didn't tell the actual Fleetwood Mac until the scandal had already erupted. A subsequent lawsuit put the band out of commission for over a year, each side claiming to own the rights to the name Fleetwood Mac. Bob Welch, who had remained in Los Angeles during this time, made connections in Hollywood and convinced the rest of the band to move their operations to California, as they would have better representation with the label there and more opportunities for growth. After the lawsuit had finally cleared up and the band was back in action, their next album, Heroes Are Hard to Find, while yielding no hit singles, was their first album to crack the top 40 in the United States, peaking at number 34. However, despite their successes on tour and the growing American audience, Bob Welch, worn down by the lawsuit and the traveling, announced that he would quit the band at the end of 1974. But as rock music tells us, the biggest and most successful chapter of Fleetwood Mac was about to be written, and Bob Welch himself would find himself in a newfound level of fame and success in the wake of the band's legendary run of the late 70s. While searching for a new recording studio for the band, Mick Fleetwood stumbled upon the American folk rock duo Buckingham when the studio engineer played their record for him to show off the studio speaker system. Mick, however, was mesmerized by the pair's vocal abilities, in particular guitarist Lindsey Buckingham's raw style. Infamously, Mick met with Lindsey to recruit him into the band, but there would be one caveat from Lindsey: they would have to include his girlfriend and singer-songwriter Stevie Nicks. After dinner at a Mexican restaurant with the band, the two were drafted into the fold and quickly produced their landmark 1975 self-titled album Fleetwood Mac, which proved to be the breakthrough that the band had been looking for the past 5 years, reaching number 1 in the US and spawning 3 top 20 singles, selling over 5 million copies. Yet they wouldn't have made it to America at all and achieved that level of success had it not been for Bob Welch and his ability to keep the band creatively alive during those turbulent years. Mick Fleetwood himself has acknowledged the role Bob played during that time in his autobiography, and Stevie Nicks herself has said that after she joined the band, she went and listened to all the band's albums and knew that there was something that they could add to the already hypnotic sound that the band had crafted. Bob's career as a solo act would take off in the wake of Fleetwood Mac's blockbuster album, Rumours, which propelled the band to the very top of the music industry, winning Album of the Year at the 1978 Grammys. Bob Welch's 1977 album French Kiss was a big success in the United States, reaching number 12 on the charts and spawning 3 top 40 hits. A re-recorded version of Sentimental Lady featuring Lindsey Buckingham and McVie would reach number 8. The FM radio rocker Ebony Eyes, which made it to number 14, and Love Hot Cold World, which was a minor hit and peaked at number 31. The album would eventually be certified platinum and was followed up in 1979 with the top 20 album 3 Hearts, which spawned another top 20 single with Precious Love. Over the years, Bob eventually became estranged from Mick Fleetwood, but remained on good terms with Buckingham and Nicks, performing live with them throughout the years. His collaborations with McVie would pave the way for the future collaboration with Lindsey Buckingham, and all the members of the band speak fondly of Bob and his contributions to the evolution of the band's sound. Bob's solo career unfortunately never regained the level of success it had in the late 70s, and he spent much of the following years releasing solo albums, and for a time hosted one of the very first music video programs, Hollywood Heartbeat, before MTV was even a thing. To cope with his waning career and depression, Bob turned to drugs and alcohol. He was known to party with Guns N' Roses, and the band often practiced in his garage. Bob eventually went to a detox treatment center, and after he left, he met his second wife, Wendy. Bob married Wendy in 1985, and they moved to Phoenix, Arizona, where he continued to put out music and perform, retaining his sobriety for the rest of his life. Infamously, in 1988, Bob Welch was snubbed by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when members of Fleetwood Mac became eligible for consideration. The members inducted included Christine and John McVie, Mick Fleetwood, Peter Green, Danny Kirwan, Jeremy Spencer, Stevie Nicks, and Lindsey Buckingham. While there were indeed several members that had been a part of the band that were left out of consideration, Bob Welch's omission was considered snubbed by many critics and fans to this day. Bob himself originally thought that his fractured relationship with Mick Fleetwood, who at the time was involved with another lawsuit with Welch over royalties, was to blame for his snub, but later made amends with Mick Fleetwood in the band and stated that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame committee board just didn't like his style of music. Fleetwood Mac itself would experience periods of inactivity and waning commercial success that would always remain in the public eye. At the turn of the 2010s, Fleetwood Mac and their Rumours era music would experience a revival, mostly due to TV producer Ryan Murphy's hit TV shows American Horror Story and Glee. Earlier period Fleetwood Mac albums were also being rediscovered by fans, and a new generation of listeners would propel their 1977 hit single Dreams back onto the charts in 2020 when it became part of a viral meme. Bob himself would not live to see a new generation of fans discover his music, as tragically in 2012, at the age of 66, Bob Welch was found dead by his wife Wendy in their Nashville home. The cause of death was ruled to be a self-inflicted gun injury. Months before, Bob had undergone surgery to treat a spinal issue. However, Bob was left in an incredible amount of pain and towards the end of his life became an invalid. He left behind a note 9 pages long to his wife, which declared his undying love to her. Wendy would pass away in 2016 and is buried beside her husband in Memphis, Tennessee. It's easy for us to say that some people within the music industry are underrated. There are plenty of artists out there putting music out every single day, and there's only so much room and so much money to be made. The music industry is a constantly shifting business. Trends change and new innovations come in to do away with old traditions. It's a constant cycle. Bob Welch is a figure, though, that I would say is definitely underrated, and his contributions to rock music are more than deserving of recognition, especially with this new generation of fans that have discovered Fleetwood Mac's music through social media. Bob Welch made an undeniable impact on music, and we'd be without one of the most successful and immaculate albums of all time had it not been for his efforts